So, yesterday, I enjoyed yesterday's live. It was really good. We were looking at the difference between confidence and self-esteem. So, we're going to go over that today and look at different ways that we can actually practically apply that to our everyday lives so that our actions are very much aligned towards our goals and what we're trying to achieve. Because these tips that I'm going to give you created a pivotal moment in my personal progress. Um, so that's why I'm going to share it with you. You know, if you're anything like me, you value your consciousness and you value your ability to push through difficult times to create positive outcomes. Now, yesterday we spoke about the difference between confidence and self-esteem, and we looked at confidence as being strong and having strength and believing in our abilities our abilities, sorry, and talents. So believing and having strength in your abilities and talents. So, for example, that could be that you're good at computers, you're good at doing the splits, you're good at uh, communicating, you're good at helping and supporting people. So that's you knowing that. Hey, Emily, you knowing that is you having confidence in that. If you don't know that you're good at something, then you need to work on your confidence in regards to that. And then self-esteem is you valuing your ability to do that. There's a difference. So, for example, you might know that you can do the splits, but you don't have enough self-worth and value around that talent to do it. And it's awful because there's those two things that relate to you executing that talent in order for it to be of value. You might be able to communicate well. You've got the self-esteem, the confidence, that you can communicate well. That's something that I have struggled with in the past. However, I didn't have enough self-esteem. I didn't value it enough and see its worth in order to turn it into something that can actually give something back, either to me or others. So at the moment, me even communicating with you now is me having enough self-esteem and projecting my confidence in my ability to communicate. So yeah, that's us recapping on the difference between confidence and self-esteem. Self-esteem is valuing something and knowing its worth. Confidence is you having the ability to do something. Someone just messaged me saying, "How are you doing, hon?" Oh, just come on the live, Sabs, and comment in the comments. Yeah, so with that said, I'm not someone that can just kind of flow off my head. So I just got my little notes to let me know, to prompt me to know what to go into next. So um when I'm feeling low in my esteem, what I've learned to do, because I'm humble, I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, I'm perfect. No, not at all. There's things that I have to do to keep my self-esteem levels up. And also just got recapping on yesterday, we talked about how do we feel when we're around certain people, regardless whether we're actually speaking or not. There's times when you can be around, you can be around people and you just don't feel confident. You don't, all of a sudden you're questioning and having doubts around your abilities. You don't even have to be communicating with them. And that's a power to have that self-awareness. It's a power to know that actually when I'm around this person, my esteem levels go down. So therefore, you're more strategic about whether to be around that person or not, depending on what you're trying to achieve at that time. So just be conscious of that. Be conscious of being around people when you're, if your intention is to network, for example, and you bring a particular friend with you, but you notice that your confidence levels are kind of down when you're around that person, don't bring them. Again, yesterday we talked about not accepting any bullshit, especially from ourselves, because sometimes, we can even kind of blame that person, not even really that person, it's just how we perceive in our relationship with that person when we're around them. So, take ownership of how you feel and think when you're around other people, and don't put yourself in situations that you don't necessarily need to be in, especially when you're intentional about whatever it is that you're trying to do. So self-reflection, one thing I do is implement self-reflection when I am feeling low in esteem. And this is how one of the things that I did to transform myself. Because even though I'm a confident person, I realized that I still had a lot of insecurities. So what I had to do is reflect. When I'm feeling low, I have to reflect on my achievements and my strengths, because sometimes you can get encapsulated by the negatives. Have you ever had a situation where you're happy, everything's fine, and then someone just does one thing to just piss you off, and then that one thing just turns into destroying the whole day? Like nothing's positive again now, because I feel like positivity is an action. Negativity can just kind of naturally happen, whereas positivity, you have to act on it. It's something that you have to do. And unfortunately, that's just the way that life is. And you have to accept that being positive is something that is a continuous action. It's a continuous thing. It's a continuous movement. Moving that energy into the right places is important. So, yeah, reflecting on your strengths when you're feeling low, tap in, check in, and just go, remind yourself, you know what, I'm abundant. I'm not in lack. I've got a lot of things that I've achieved and a lot of the things that I'm still going to achieve, but I just need to raise my self-esteem in those particular areas in order to achieve them. So, yeah, self-reflect on your strengths and your achievements. Also, develop a growth mindset. So, hey, Darcy. Yes, I could do a shout out to Darcy. Hey, Darcy. How are you? I hope you're okay. Feel free to, interact and ask questions, guys. This is the space where you get to pick my brain, and to get my opinion on anything that you're working on in terms of raising your self-esteem around that particular area. It's quite interesting, actually, when... Yes, I'm good, thank you. It's quite interesting because you can be confident. I think sometimes, we can it's like we don't want to accept that we might not be confident in certain areas. It doesn't mean that we're not confident in every area of our life. Sometimes I interact with people. Thank you. I interact with people and they have achieved a lot, but they're very much into their self-image, where once they start to get vulnerable, they kind of shut it out, whereas they could have got so much enlightenment from just allowing that natural space of vulnerability to arise. Yes, you can ask me a question. Allowing that vulnerability to arise and just having a quick conversation around that without exposing themselves, if that makes sense. So, let's have some humility to ourselves and not, be arrogant, because sometimes we kind of misconstrued the difference between arrogance and self-esteem. I feel like it's arrogant to not allow yourself to be naturally vulnerable. And we think that's self-esteem, and it's not. It's kind of awkward. So again, yeah, reflect on your achievements and strengths, but remember you're still human and there's areas to grow. You're not always going to be like the greatest all the time, and it doesn't invalidate the other things that you've achieved by being vulnerable. Hey Pixie. um it doesn't invalidate you being vulnerable at the times when it's necessary, because that's something that I've struggled with as well. Like, sometimes we can have these false self images that prevent us from growing. Oh, but I'm fine, I'm an author, I'm this, I'm Cancerian, I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah blah blah. Whereas actually it doesn't really matter if you have to kind of reflect on other areas where you maybe need to grow. And then also another thing that I do is apply a growth mindset. Um, so when I'm struggling in terms of self-esteem, I talked yesterday about me writing my book, and it wasn't until my esteem raised in writing it was my second book. My first book was actually my second book, because I had already written Soft Girl Era. And when I done Unorthodox Masculinity, I did that through my coaching with a client. And it wasn't until I seen that I could do that with the coaching that I did with my client that I actually got on with independently doing Soft Girl Era. And like I said, it was very much like, because it was about me, it felt too egotistical, when actually I was misplacing my arrogance and self-esteem. So really, I just didn't have the self-esteem to write that book, because in my mind, I was being arrogant, feeling as though people wanted to hear about me type thing. But once I seen that I could do it with Unorthodox Masculinity, I went back to my first book, Soft Girl Era, and executed it fine. So just going back again, what I what? Oh, okay. Bye. Bye, Ariel. Bye, sweetie. I also apply a growth mindset, because you can't just be living your life dumbing yourself down. Like, it's just not good, because we kind of do it to ourselves. And without applying certain strategies and certain methods, we are automatically not giving ourselves what we deserve. So when you apply a growth mindset, you are then able to shift your perspective. Yes, of course, I can give you some advice. And you'll see that setbacks are a chance to grow, not a stop point. It doesn't mean, oh God, I can't do this, I've got to stop. It's just like, over the years, being somebody who is a teacher, lecturer, and communicator, it's difficult for me to place myself in the right environments in order to communicate with those who need me. And then for example, if I'm going to speak on Instagram and it's not working, I'm not getting the traction that I desire, then I'm going to stop. Or if I'm going to speak on YouTube and then I don't get the traction that I desire, then now it's like, oh gosh, I need to just stop now. Actually, applying a growth mindset means that you just reevaluate, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I need to educate myself on the algorithms. Maybe I need to be more strategic in terms of how I and putting my points across and things like that. So Darcy, you go into secondary school in September and you're really struggling with anxiety. Okay, so if we look at it from a perspective of what we're talking about today. So first of all, remind yourself of your strengths and achievements. So around education. So look at the things that you're actually good at when you are at school. So I assume that you went to primary school prior to that, or the person who you're asking for went to primary school prior to that. So look at your strengths. Are you good at maths? Are you good at English? Are you good at art? And remember that you are always going to place those situations around the education when you go into secondary school. And then there's also going to be people who are going to be in the same situation as you as well. In terms of anxiety, anxiety means that you're afraid of the future. You're afraid of the things that haven't happened yet. So I would advise applying the growth mindset and looking at it as a chance to grow and not as a chance to not go to secondary school. Again, we're talking about that stop point. Don't see it as a stop point. See it as a chance to grow in that area. You've got this whole 6 weeks. Maybe, I know that you possibly want to just chill out and not do nothing to do with school. However, learning is a continuous journey. You are always learning inside and outside of the educational field. We're here now learning. I'm learning from listening to you. I will have light bulb moments as well. So, yeah, understand what anxiety actually is and bring yourself back to the present and remind yourself of the things that you have achieved and the greatness in that. And remember when you didn't know those things, the things that you have achieved. Remember when you hadn't achieved them. You probably had the same feeling because you wasn't necessarily, you knew that you could do it, but you didn't have the self-esteem around it to value it enough to execute it. Yeah. And that's why these 3 tips that I'm giving today are so important. And I hope that it's not too complex and that you're able to apply them. So, yeah, don't be scared. Well, you got to be scared anyway. And take that energy and transform it and transmute it. You know, we have the power as humans to transmute energy and see everything as an energy. So take that anxiety. I'm not sure if you meditate. If you're a young person, I do get my children to meditate and learn how to transmute energy. Or if you're an adult speaking on behalf of a youngster, teach them how to transmute energy. You know, you've got meditation where you do your best to feel yourself outside of the external factors. And then you've got meditation where your intention is to pick up on a particular energy and just allow it to merge with your being and just toy with it and transmute it. And I mean, we can do that one of the days. We can actually sit down and do a meditation on energy transmutation. So anxiety, for example, I feel anxious about things all the time. There's times when I don't even know what I'm anxious about. I've had panic attacks and things and I don't even know what has happened. However, what saves me is the fact that I have this skill and I have the tools to regulate myself. It's just a dysregulation of emotion. Sometimes people get dysregulated and they act out, they get angry, they isolate themselves, they do various things to regulate themselves. However, this is a tool to regulate yourself. Sit down in your own space. You could even just sit in a quiet space, in a park, wherever it is. Put some meditation music on, some calming music, and just really focus on that feeling, you know what it feels like, you know what that anxiety feels like for you. Breathe in and out and just breathe, let go of the external factors, and just allow that energy to rotate within you and have that intention. Allow the energy to rotate within you until it merges with you to the point where it feels like it disappears. And just keep doing that. Right. And also higher, and also apply the strategies that I'm giving today. And you'll see that by the time you're ready to go to school, secondary school, or by the time you're ready to do whatever it is that you want to do, you'll do it with ease. You'll do it with ease, because it's just about us supporting ourselves to get to where we need to go, because life's about evolution. We're never stagnant. As much as we even want to avoid growing and becoming, you're never stagnant. You're never ever stagnant. You're always going to be doing something and becoming better. It's just a part of being human. You know, I never thought that I would be an author. I never thought I would be a filmmaker. However, when I look into my past, I've always written. I've always been a writer. I've always bought magazines. I've always wanted to communicate the information that I have inside of me. I've always sought information and shared it with others. And it's not until, you know, I've got into my older years that I've been put in situations where I have been able to place value on those things in a way where, you know, I can create an income from it. So, but prior to that, if someone said to me, you know, write a book, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and she was saying that years ago I said to her that she needs to tell her story, and that sometimes, even though it's difficult to cognize, we go through situations because we are the people that can communicate those situations to others, or communicate the healing, the ways, the avenues to release ourselves from the difficulties of that particular situation. And she said that she's now ready. And it was me that told her to do it years ago, but she just wasn't ready. She couldn't even imagine it. And imagine, she's evolved and grown so much and blossomed into a confident being, that she's realized the self-esteem around her story, and she's ready to write a book around it, which is awesome. She's got a lot of Aquarius in her chart. So, you know, Aquarians, they are researchers and collectors of information, and are good at relaying that back to others. Trauma is awful in any capacity, whether it's a car crash, abuse of any sort. It's still an opportunity for some to grow again. You know, some people see it as a reason to stop living, stop enjoying life. However, I hope that those who are listening today who have experienced trauma of any sort um, can rebuild their self-esteem in order for them to remember what they are confident in and continue practicing those things. How to deal with bullies. Darcy's going in today. Darcy's really going in today, but it doesn't matter. I love it. How to deal with bullies, Darcy. How would you, it's okay. How would you like to deal with bullies? I feel like that's the question, because again, it's about how dysregulated are we, recognizing those emotions and using that emotion and transmuting it, because I don't, the power of transmuting energy is underestimated. You can have a feeling about something, regulate yourself around that feeling, wake up in the morning, for example, wake up in the morning and all of a sudden the bullies are being nice to you. Like, it's so simple that it's difficult to cognize. There's times when there's another um strategy I use in my one-to-one coaching, where when my clients have a difficult situation, I give them a task to go deeper with the transmutation. You can call it shadow work. And I've got a coach friend who does the same. So you can either consult with your inner child and give your inner child attention. You can actually just allow your body to speak to you, or your spirit to speak to you yourself. The other day I did a meditation, and my intention was to connect with my inner child. My friend advised me, she was like, "Sabine, connect with your inner child and give her some attention." But when I went into the meditation, it turned into a cutting cords. And I was cutting cords with people who I didn't even know. I remember, I recognized the faces, but I didn't know that they had that much significance in my life. So yeah. Oh yes, go to the beach. I love that. Take me with you. I'm there with you. Nice. Have a good day. So yeah, transmute the energy on a spiritual level. Transmute the energy, and also look at it as an opportunity to grow, a chance to grow, and not a reason to stop whatever it is that you are trying to do. Thank you for you sharing, Darcy, and I'm sending good energy to you and your situation. Build your self-esteem around being with people. Try to place yourself in spaces where you are loved and cared for and not attacked. Yeah. And that might also be a reason why you're scared to start secondary school, because you may perceive that you go into a place with bigger bullies. So if you would like to do some more work around that, feel free to email me. Just leave a comment in the comment box, and we can have a consultation and we can start working on that, so you can create the reality that you want, even if it's just around that particular issue. So the third thing I want to talk about is perspective. Perspective shift. When it comes to your confidence, is not even really in the conversation, really, because you know what you're good at. You know what you're good at. This is about building your esteem around that area in order for it to benefit you, and not necessarily monetarily. In order for it to benefit you, can be just you having more strength and power in that area of your life and of yourself. So, a perspective shift. What's a perspective? A perspective is a thought, a belief around a particular issue or circumstance or situation. So, you can believe that people don't like you and you're trying to set up a business, for example, and that's going to be quite difficult if you're going to set up a business which requires you to communicate with people and you think that people don't like you. So that's your perspective, that people don't like you. Now, yes, you can go out into the world and communicate with people, but it will be difficult because you're going to be constantly fighting with this idea that people don't like you. And you could get more from your business or whatever it is that you're trying to do by working on your perspective and shifting your perspective. So first of all, what we need to do is look at, where is that thought coming from? Where did that thought that people don't like you originate from? And the reason why it's important to do that is because you constantly putting yourself in that situation is it's going to be giving you the feelings of rejection. The moment someone does something to confirm that they don't like you, you're going to feel rejected. Rejection is an energy that depletes your self-esteem and chips away at your self-esteem. So in a space where you're confident, where you know you can do this, you know that your product serves people well, you're experiencing a lot of rejection because of the fact that you think people don't like you. So this is why the perspective shift is really, really important. Rejection can be looked at as you practicing confidence. So again, you don't need to stop doing what you're doing because the feelings of rejection is so painful. If you have the intention of, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing with the intention of increasing my self-esteem around this area of me thinking that people don't like me. Failure also is another thing that chips away at your self-esteem. Again, shifting perspective. I'm going to practice confidence. And then you're right back to self-reflection again, where we apply the tools of, I'm aware of this now. I'm not going to notice every little thing that people do and say to me. What I'm going to do is build my esteem in this area by looking at it as a chance to grow as a person, because the more I grow as a person, the more I'm able to serve people in my chosen career, or serve my children better, or my husband better, or my partner better, or the charity that I work for better, or I'm going to be able to write better because I'm now not concentrating on the fact that when I finish writing the book, people don't like me and I'm not going to sell it. Because there was a time where my past achievements were not achieved and I had to build my self-esteem around that. And I'm going to do the same thing with this situation because I can, because I have before. So we've got self-reflection, growth mindset, and changing perspective, perspective shift. So thank you guys for watching today, and thank you for interacting. Continue to set goals, high goals, you know. Sometimes we move too quick. We don't have enough esteem in that area. We might have to hire a coach to help us to get to the point where we can project our confidence in that area. Sometimes we may need to read a few more books. Sometimes we need to listen to a few more educators. Sometimes we need to skill up. Sometimes we need to go over it a bit more and talk to, people who love us and care about us. And those are the things that you need to do to build up your esteem to get to where you need to go. I just want to say, keep smiling and stay beautiful. Yeah. And stay progressive.